Individuals wishing to speak on agenda items must complete a sign-up card prior to the item being introduced. Sign-up cards are available on the table. Individuals wishing to speak on non-agenda items may do so under Petitions and Requests. No sign-up card is required. Citizens will be given 3 minutes to speak on all agenda items. All sign-up cards and exhibits being submitted to the CRA shall be placed in the box on the table.
The purpose of the City Council meeting is to discuss city business, and proper decorum must be displayed by all in attendance. Public input and participation is encouraged. However, all persons in attendance shall comply with the rules for meeting procedures and shall refrain from any action that disrupts the orderly proceedings of the council meeting or hinders a council from performing its duties. No person shall interfere with the rights of others to speak, hear, see, or attend the proceedings, make threats of violence, disrupt the proceedings with shouting, fail to confine remarks to the agenda item under consideration, nor continue to speak after the allotted speaking time has expired, as these actions shall be considered disruptive and disorderly. The mayor shall caution any person who violates these provisions and disrupts the orderly proceedings of the council meetings, and they shall be directed to comply. Any person who fails to comply, as cautioned, shall be ruled out of order, shall forfeit the remainder of their speaking time on the agenda item under consideration, and will be requested to return to their seat. Persons who fail to comply as directed shall be subject to removal from the council chambers by law enforcement or such other actions as may be reasonably necessary to enforce these regulations. Notwithstanding, the mayor may order the immediate removal of any person from the chambers who possesses a threat to property or life safety. Nothing in this section shall be construed to limit or restrict a person's right created by the Constitution, law, ordinance, or regulation.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the City of Titusville Community Redevelopment Agency regular meeting, June 9th, 2026 at 5:30. I'll call this meeting to order. City Attorney, do we have a quorum?
Yes.
Thank you very much. For the invocation, we'll hold a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
I have a motion by Member Nelson to approve the minutes on May 12th, 2026.
Second.
I have a second by Member Stokel. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Executive Director?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. We have one item on the agenda for tonight's CRA meeting, and that is 7A, the Trail Town Amenity Strategic Plan. And we have a member of Kimley Horn will present that plan, recommendations, and answer any questions. And the action that is requested is to accept the plan, and on July 14th, when the CRA convenes again, we'll be asking you to consider adopting it.
Okay. Hello, good afternoon, or good evening. My name is Shima Laguerre, and I am here to present the City of Titusville Downtown Bicycle and Pedestrian Amenities Plan. Perfect. Let's see. Okay. And throughout the presentation, if there are any questions, just please feel free to stop me. So we were tasked to basically review the City of Titusville's downtown bicycle and pedestrian amenities, come up with a strategy for how the existing amenities could be upgraded throughout all the 5 different districts of the CRA. And through this process, we went through a site analysis, we have district analysis, and then we have strategic plans, funding, and implementations throughout this entire presentation. What this plan will deliver is focusing on integrated regional trails, capital project prioritization, conceptual design framework. The strategic plan for the Titusville Community Redevelopment Agency is designed to present a comprehensive framework that connects regional trail systems with all 5 CRA districts, strengthening both mobility and economic development opportunities. One of the core deliverables of this plan is to establish a clear vision that integrates trail-based transportation with daily experiences of residents, visitors, and businesses across the downtown area by connecting major regional trails such as the Coast to Coast Trail and the East Coast Greenway. The plan positions Titusville as a hub for recreational tourism and multimodal mobility. The conceptual designs illustrate how infrastructure, amenities, and placemaking elements can work together to enhance the overall urban environment. Another key component of the plan is prioritization of capital projects, including trail segments, trailheads, plazas, public realm improvements. Each of these investments in strategically identified areas ensure maximum impact on connectivity, accessibility, and community activation. While we were looking at trying to develop this plan, we wanted to make sure that we looked at all three frameworks before we started to implement any ideas. And as we continue to go through this presentation, we'll see what our goals of the strategic plan is. So overall, we had three main goals. We wanted to use the trail network to drive downtown NCRA district revitalization. We wanted to create a unified, connected public realm framework across all 5 CRA districts. We also wanted to align capital improvement with adopted city policy to support funding and implementation. The strategic plan is guided by a set of clearly defined goals that reflect both the CRA's mission and the long-term vision for Titusville's downtown development. The plan aims to leverage the regional trail network as a catalyst for downtown revitalization by increasing foot traffic and encouraging cycling. The plan supports local businesses, stimulates redevelopment, and activates underutilized spaces. The plan also focuses on creating a unified and connected public realm across all 5 districts, as mentioned in Step 2. This includes improving walkability and bikeability, establishing consistent design standards, and ensuring equitable distribution of amenities. The goal is to transform the area from a collection of disconnected corridors into a seamless, user-friendly network. The plan emphasizes alignment with existing city policies and planning documents. By ensuring consistency with prior plans, such as the city's multimodal strategy, the CRA can ensure funding more effectively and coordinate projects with regional partners. So while we first started this project, we looked at all the existing conditions of these 5 CRA different districts. And in this image, this is, I think we took a site visit early in January. It was a cold day. That's kind of why all the pictures are gray. But nonetheless, we were able to walk through all 5 districts, kind of understand what are some of the current conditions of trails, bikes, sidewalks, what we've coined our base modes, which are the standard implementations of bicycles, benches, lighting, wayfinding. And throughout all of these, we have a pretty clear understanding of what is actually existing within the CRA and what is not. There is a strong foundation of sidewalks, bike paths, bike lanes, specifically within the downtown and civic waterfront. Distribution and integration issues, existing infrastructure elements are inconsistently distributed and not fully integrated to create a continuous, engaging user experience from the downtown, civic waterfront, uptown, midtown, and historic residential areas. There's this transit versus destination. The system currently serves as a transit route for regional trail users, but a lot of those users don't stop and linger within the downtown or the uptown and midtown areas. There are opportunities for enhancement. As we notice on the chart, it's kind of hard to read, but we've basically taken a level of service study and identified where a lot of these amenities are. And as you can see, there are not a lot of check marks along most of these thoroughfares. So where those check marks do not exist is where we would like to implement some of those areas. The existing strategy within the Titusville CRA reveal a solid foundation of infrastructure that supports pedestrian and bicycle movement. Key elements such as sidewalks, crosswalks, and bicycle lanes are very present. However, these foundational components are in place, their distribution and integration remain inconsistent. Instead, it primarily serves as a transit route for regional trails users passing through the area through encouraging them to stop, explore, and engage with local businesses. This limitation highlights the need for more intentional and coordinated approaches to infrastructure development. By enhancing these small assets and addressing gaps in amenity distribution, the CRA can elevate the functionality and appeal of the network of all 5 districts. And then we looked at where these gaps currently exist. So as mentioned before, there's an uneven amenity distribution. Most of the amenities are located in the civic waterfront and downtown. The uptown and midtown function more like a pass-through. We also noticed that there were missing trail elements, trailheads, informational signage, mapping, repair stations. There are a few, but there are not many, as well as there's not a consistent branding going across all of the 5 districts. lack of cohesion. There is not a similar user experience from downtown to uptown, midtown, the historic residential area. And so with that, we looked at how can we actually improve and create a priority. We looked at basically coining this idea of base nodes, enhanced nodes, and trail hubs, and we categorized what we saw when we walked throughout the 5 districts. The base nodes is benches, bicycle racks, waste receptacles, enhanced base nodes, wayfinding, and pedestrian lighting, and then what we are coining as a trail hub is everything from the base and enhanced node with more of a cohesive design element tied together. After looking at the gaps, we reviewed each of the districts. So each of the districts, we created a scorecard where we kind of ranked what each district provided through connectivity, comfort, trail identity, economic activation, and overall role. So the Civic Waterfront, we gave it a medium because it is a regional destination with the park. That's the Sandpoint Park that's there. A lot of people come to that area to actually use that facility and use that space. Downtown, we created as a high economic activation. Obviously, it's downtown. It's the primary trail for commerce and hub. Uptown was low. It's a merging connection zone. There is not a lot of activities going on in that area. We consider that more of an industrial space. Midtown is low as well. It's where most people are passing through to go from historic residential or to the uptown, downtown, and civic front area. And by understanding this, we really wanted to create an improvement, should be targeted, not uniform. Each district has their own idea, has their own identity, and has their own brand, but how can we collectively connect those two so that it's one seamless CRA district? So looking at all the districts and giving them a score, we went through every single district. We looked at first the Civic Waterfront. How can this, what was the analysis of this area? We know that there are key gaps. There are street trees that could easily be implemented. There's pedestrian scale lighting. There's additional trails across the street, across the corridor. Some of the investments that we could look at is expanding pedestrian scale lighting, updating wayfinding to reinforce regional trails and downtown linkages, expand bicycle support infrastructure, including bicycle racks and repair stations. And that's a similar trend that we'll find in all of the districts. Uptown as well. Let's see. Uptown, we focus more so on limiting pedestrian comfort, minimal trails, specific wayfinding and orientation. It was more industrial service corridor character, so how do we blend that into the Civic Waterfront as well as the downtown district? One of the main priority investments we looked at is a simple measure of adding trash receptacles, basic support amenities, pedestrian lighting, making sure that this space is integrated with art or gateway features to kind of lead you as you come into the CRA area. Downtown is our main hub. There is limited formal trailhead locations. There's one main area where the trail actually comes through. We know that there are opportunities for Broad Street to actually have potential trails on that as well. There's an opportunity to expand further. Some of the priority investments we wanted to look at is developing formal trailheads, expanding the multi-use trail, placing bicycle stations along the continuous trail routes, and creating gathering spaces tied to economic activity zones. Midtown. When looking at Midtown, the priority investment areas are expanding bicycle infrastructure, deploying what we have coined the Combo 3, so that would be either the base node or the enhanced node, installing street trees, enhancing landscape, making this space really feel like it's a connector between downtown and the historic residential area. And then the historic residential area, we are very conscientious that this is a residential space, so we're not wanting to implement a lot of the other elements that we would do in Civic Waterfront, Uptown, Downtown, or Midtown. We would want this to create the same character that it currently has, but emphasize the share row and the current bicycle infrastructure that's there by simply adding bicycle stations, benches, and waste receptacles so that it still feels like it's a space where people actually live and enjoy. And so essentially the summary of all of this is that there's a lot of opportunities for growth and prosperity within the CRA district. We've looked at how can we implement all of these areas? How can we start to begin to create a framework behind the ideas that we found? So the district analysis confirms that the CRA has a strong mobility and multimodal foundation currently. The opportunity is not wholesale pedestrian reconstruction, but strategic amenity layering, stronger identity, and more unified trail experience across all 5 districts, not just in one. Not every district requires the same level of investment intensity. However, every district should be recognizable as part of the CRA bicycle and pedestrian system. we can provide a predictable level of user comfort and support clear connectivity between districts. And now we look at the strategic plan for how do we actually get all of these ideas going and working for everyone. So there are 5 main strategies. It's 1, identifying and wayfinding consistency, comfort and usability network, trail access and node development, and then looking at economic and community activation, scalable amenity development. The strategic plan proposes a shift from isolated improvements to a fully coordinated and integrated system of bicycle and pedestrian amenities. At its core, the strategy emphasizes the creation of a unified network that enhances usability, accessibility, and overall experience. This includes establishing consistent design standards, improving connectivity between districts, and introducing a hierarchy of amenities that supports different levels of user needs. The plan also prioritizes economic development by integrating trails with commercial areas and public spaces, encouraging users to engage with local businesses and community activities. Another key aspect of the strategy is the focus of identity and branding. This all allows the CRA to align improvements with available funding and evolving community needs. The strategy plan provides a clear and actionable way that we can get this done. So some of the proposed amenities that we've mentioned are the base nodes, enhanced nodes, as well as the trail hub. And as mentioned before, these are all elements that can be implemented in small scales. The base node is simple: benches, bicycle racks, waste receptacles, creating a design standard for what those elements are. We know that there's currently a foundation, but some of the districts do not have a lot of these base nodes tied together. There may just be one bench, one bicycle rack, one waste receptacle, but how do we coin them all together? And then looking at, okay, well, we have these base nodes, why can't we add wayfinding and pedestrian lighting to these areas as well? And then trail hubs are not necessarily everywhere, but in certain aspects, in certain spaces within the CRA, those are necessary. And so when we looked at these, we understood that there are certain corridors that we also wanted to take a look at. South Palm Avenue is one of them, where we figured while we walked this area, this is a great opportunity that could connect to the greater trail network. So this is the existing corridor, and then this is our proposed recommendations for what this corridor could look like. This is implementing some of the base nodes, the enhanced nodes, and a little bit of the trail hub. So in this section that you see here, we have integrated additional landscape. We have stuck with the Florida-friendly palette that is known in Titusville. We're looking at wayfinding. So there's this off to my right, there's this orange wayfinding that could be a simple bollard or a light that's integrated. That could be a simple element that's incorporated throughout all districts where people could easily identify that this is a trail network, something that's simple and small, not very cost effective. It's very cost effective. Landscape would be similar in all the districts. We would kind of, if we go back to this element, there's on-street parking that is adjacent, but there isn't really an identity there. We have overhead utilities. In this design, we did not go as far as trying to put those on the ground, but that would be a conversation that could be later. But we wanted to integrate that there is a separation between the parking and the pedestrian zones. So there is a way to decrease the drive lanes. I think right now they're at 24. By making it 20, you get more of a pedestrian-focused thoroughfare. And then our other area that we looked at was South Street. South Street is a very condensed area. There's not much that can be done there, so we really focused on providing more space in the sidewalk and the landscape areas, and then on both sides, and trying to increase the wayfinding and signage that would be in this area. There isn't much more that we can do because of the parameters with the railroad tracks, but within this space, there are still small elements that can be created. And then the plan implementation. So this is something that we focused on with recommendations from staff, was to look at a 5-year approach. So by doing all of these designs, we understand that it can't all be done at once. It can't all be done when let's say tomorrow or the next day. It has to be, you have to get funding, you have to figure out a strategy, and you have to really coordinate all of the efforts and figure out which ones are most important. So our very first idea is that year one, 5-year approach, year one is really doing what we've already done. So it's looking at the existing conditions, really fine-tuning it, figuring out a system-wide framework, understanding exactly what needs to happen throughout all the 5 years. As we go forward, we understand that there are primary areas that we want to focus on, and one of those mainly being year one is really establishing the foundation, looking at a system-wide framework and focusing on years 2 through 5. Year one would create the implementation roadmap for future district-specific improvements by defining the existing conditions baseline, confirming amenity gaps, and establishing a consistent approach for signage, more hierarchy, and bicycle and pedestrian networks. Whereas year 2 would focus on a certain district. So every district basically would get their 1 year of a focus area. Year 2 would be the downtown district, and the downtown district would focus on implementing a lot of the base nodes, trail hubs, and enhanced nodes. We would focus on really the bicycle and pedestrian improvements, and the key outcome that we would look for within year 2 is positioning the downtown as a primary trail to commerce and activity hub by improving connectivity, strengthening the multimodal experience, and creating a more cohesive public realm that encourages trail users currently to date to not just move through, but to stay and linger within the downtown corridor. Year 3, we have divided, or we've actually grouped together Civic, Waterfront, and Uptown. We didn't think that these two needed their own year. We thought that grouping them together because they're adjacent to each other would make the most sense. This year 3 would focus on the Civic and Waterfront districts, strengthening their role within the broader bicycle and pedestrian and regional trail network. There's currently infrastructure that's already there, but maybe within this district we can add additional trail hub that we've coined. So adding in additional benches, bicycle racks, wayfinding, lighting, signage, all of those things within maybe the Uptown, because the Civic Waterfront currently has some of those things, but they can be upgraded. One of the outcomes that we would look towards is strengthening the connection between the Civic Waterfront, Uptown, and Downtown by improving wayfinding, comfort, and access. We've also grouped together the Midtown and Historic districts as well. And within those districts, we understand the identity of the Historic District is really going to push this year forward. Midtown is connected to the historic residential area by one road. So understanding that in this area, there probably won't be a lot of trailheads. There'll probably be a lot more enhanced nodes of benches, bicycle racks, and limited wayfinding, and definitely pedestrian lighting, but not so much overhead lighting. There could be bollards, there could be small little implementations throughout this entire district. One of the outcomes that we're looking forward to is this phase can strengthen the district's transition once people are coming into the CRA, having a strong foundation as they enter into the downtown corridor, knowing exactly where they are and what this looks like as you come into downtown Titusville. And then year 5, these are basically comparison images of spaces that we have been told. There are 4 parcels that the city owns at the corner of, what is it again? It's the
Washington and St. John.
Yeah, Washington and St. John. So year 5 would be basically looking at these 4 parcels that the city owns, and I'll go to the next slide. So this is where these images, if we go back, this is where these images would take place. So in year 5, it's really focusing on the downtown gateway and community trail hub. So in this space, we know that this is one of the main thoroughfares as you come through downtown from other areas. So as you approach this area, why not create a space where instantly you know that this is a CRA area that is connected by trails, bicycle. It is focused on signage, wayfinding. It is a space where communities gather, linger, and it's going to lead you through the entire area as you go through downtown. Our main outcome for year 5 is the culmination of the strategic plan by tying the broader bicycle and pedestrian network together through a highly visible gateway and community trail hub. While full construction may extend past year 5, this phase positions site as a defining CRA investment that can support downtown identity, multimodal access, public gathering, and further development. This will focus on the district-specific improvements throughout years 1 through 4, but year 5 is all about these 4 parcels that can really tie everything together and create a cohesive CRA district that is focused on bicycle connectivity, pedestrian accessibility, and mobility all throughout the downtown area. And so how do we get this to actually happen? Funding. So we have looked at multiple grants, multiple opportunities that can be utilized to create all of these year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5 strategies. We have at Kimley Horn, we have a grants writing team that went through and looked at, I think, at over 100 different grants. We highlighted a couple throughout the document. And essentially our goal is really to fine tune exactly what the city and what the CRA is looking for, going after those grants and getting them published and applied for so that all of these ideas that we have can actually be implemented. So this is a very seamless process. It goes from steps 1 through 7, and it's a reoccurring cycle. And so essentially our key takeaways as we look at this bicycle trail activity is funding approaches funding strategies, funding matrix, everything that we've learned through the plan synthesis, the district roles, the implementation, everything culminates at, we can do this, we can find the funding, we can come up with a strategy, we can come up with an implementation, and we are here to help you do that. Any questions?
Thank you very much. Member Stokel?
Yes. I don't think I have too many questions. One of the key words I took from this was connectivity. I can't stress that enough. This is probably one of the best plans that I have seen brought before us. I get nervous that if we can actually do it. I really like the underground utilities. I think that will help. Looking out South Street, I like the proposed vision for it, but there's like a building right there, and I'm like, can this actually happen? So I really like the presentation. I just want to, do you think that this is possible, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
Yes. So we are very confident that this is possible. We've worked with multiple different jurisdictions around the same thing, and what truly is the thing to get it done is the funding. We have gone after so many grants, and we have won those grants, and we have provided the cities with the opportunities to enhance their areas by simple measures. I know that the South Street, that one is very limited in what can be done. I think we implemented a wall, and that was something where we're like, well, there's a building there. How can we kind of get rid of it? We can put up a wall, make the facade look better. But we do believe that this can actually be done if we start now, or even in a couple months, with really going after these grants and creating a strategy and a framework behind year one, us going out and actually fine tuning this document that we've already done, and then having a strategy for, okay, now that we know that we have gotten the information, what district needs to focus at that point, and then we tailor those particular grants and fundings to that. We think that we can get this done, and the money is there. We just got to go get it.
And I also appreciate the thoroughness of like the matrix and saying a bench here, a sign here, because I think that's what you guys specialize in, that we don't necessarily know what makes sense for the entire like area and all the different districts. So we can have that connectivity to know that, hey, there's going to be a trash can, 50 feet away or 10 feet away here. And so I just appreciate the thoroughness, and I would like to see this come to fruition.
So would we.
Thank you. City Clerk?
There's 3 cards. The first one's Tony Shiflow.
You gotta love Kimley Horn. Even though their key finding is the lack of trees along most of the trails, they completely ignored the major bike trail that runs through Titusville. I'll explain. From Maine to Key West, the East Coast Greenway stretches for more than 600 miles along Florida East Coast. Nationally, 65% of the National Greenway route is complete or in an advanced stage of development. In Florida, it's only 42% completed as a separate trail. It enters Florida at Fernandino Beach and winds through 13 counties, reaching Key West. And much of it follows a side path along Scenic Highway 1, A1A, and it ends in the Florida Keys over a 106-mile island-hopping route that is separate from the highway. But yet let me go ahead. Titusville is the convergence of 3 major regional systems: the Coast to Coast Trail, the St. John's to Sea Loop Trail, and the East Coast Greenway, the one that goes from Maine to Key West. The convergence presents a significant opportunity for the CRA to leverage trail-based mobility, recreation, and tourism from all those out-of-state people, bikers, as drivers of economic development, public space activation, and downtown vitality. Wayfinding, lighting, and support amenities can be advanced through the CRA to these bike trails, and should include a plan for this border area I'm going to tell you about. The East Coast, the CRA goes to the railroad tracks, but the trail comes down from way up above Mims and curves around over that big bridge over Garden Street and at Boggs gas company, it just kind of stops, and there's Canaveral Street, and you go down to Main Street, and wow, where do you go? If you're heading west on the bike trail, there's nowhere to go except into the oncoming eastbound traffic lane for 2 blocks over to Canaveral. Now, I know that's outside of the CRA, but what I wanted Kimley Horn to do was to recognize that this is a major bike trail from Maine to Key West and should have some amenities and some kind of recognition on that 2-block area. A good sign would help. I ran into a couple of German tourists. They were standing there, I've told you this before, looking, where do I go? Where do I go? I had to turn my truck around and drive them to the part.
Thank you, Ms. Shiflett. City Clerk?
The next card's Lisa Mosier.
There you go.
There you go, Lisa Mosier. I wasn't going to speak, but then I started thinking about this past Saturday, one of the other volunteers for Main Street, we were talking to the business owners on Baldwin Plaza on Broad Street. And we ran into some bikers and stuff. And so I'm glad to see part of the connectability is including in there, but that is a major area. The businesses there we're talking about, like, we know that Broad Street's going to be done, but the rest of that area up there, people don't know. There are businesses up there, and our plan is, as we get going, is to help other businesses open in that area. So I truly hope that you guys really look at all of that, because downtown, we're pretty much okay with sidewalks and stuff, but that's a really desert area up there for sidewalks, for the trails. Tony's right. You get to the railroad tracks, and it's like crazy, you know, and I know we're not the CRA, but maybe the city can get something for that to clean it up and beautify it a little bit. And one other thing, and I don't know if this is possible, if you can ask FDOT, but when you're on the trails on Main Street, when you come up to the lights, because FDOT is GPS now, you can sit there for a long time and the light won't change. But to get to the beacon, you have to get off of your bike to go over, hit the beacon, you know, to cross. I don't know, is there stuff for the trails that if a bike rider drives up, he gets up, he can just hit a button? I mean, it would help, and it would help clumsy people from crashing on their bikes when they're at Main Street and Hopkins, and not somebody I know that did that recently, but yes. So, you know, I just was thinking about that. I don't know if FDOT has those type of things, so maybe it's good to look at too. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mosier, and definitely something we can ask FDOT. City Clerk?
The last card's Stan Johnston.
My name is Stan Johnson. I've been around here since 1970, and also even before that, back in 1952 or so. But I'm here because I think that the city of Titusville is spending too much money on little things like this. And I say little things. It's like, for example, Kimley Horn did at great expense, they were counting traffic spaces that were available that we're not using. It was horrible. I think the expenses is horrible. The city of Titusville used to have an engineering department. They used to have an engineering department and did a lot of things and did designing of streets and so forth. And I just can't imagine why we're doing what we are, because we have people that we've hired that can do this. As far as I'm concerned, is because they have knowledge of living in the area that as far as I'm concerned, is superior to what Kimley Horn has. And I think I'm giving an example is that this parking thing was a fiasco as far as I'm concerned, and I do not appreciate what Kimley Horn did to Parish Park. In other words, we have a barrier and we have a little bit of sand beach and so forth.
Please stay on topic, Mr. Johnson.
This is what Kimley Horn did.
We're talking
Okay, I don't
town
want Kimley
amenities.
Horn doing these projects. What I'm saying is that we wasted a lot of time, I mean, so forth, all this time, as far as I'm concerned, was unnecessary for this, that you could have even just read the report and then come back and comment on it. So what I'm asking you to do is reconsider about how you're spending your money. And it looks like to me, we're talking about millions of dollars that you're spending, as far as I'm concerned, that's unnecessary, that could be done by staff. And that's what we used to do. That's what we used to do. So we didn't do it we did it enough. In fact, is we designed roads. We designed several roads in the city of Titusville. Everything about them, obtaining rights of way and so forth. And so now what are we doing? We're doing almost nothing, and it's costing us a lot of money. But we could save a lot of money if we would go ahead and use what we have instead of thinking that our consultants know so much more than we do. They don't. And many times they just do not. Any questions? You sure you don't have any questions? Well, thank you for listening. I want you to think about this seriously because it's too much money being thrown away. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. City Clerk, are there any other cards?
There's no other cards.
Member Moscoso?
Yes, thank you. I do have a question about the grant funding and the funding options. Is that something that you will find the grants and then Sue, you will be applying for them, or do you help us actually apply for these grants as well?
So we help you with the application for those grants.
Okay,
yes.
and is that part of like what we've already paid for, or is that an additional cost?
So within the document, not the presentation, but the actual document that we have, I think there's 4 to 6 pages of grants that we've identified, and we've gone over it with staff of which ones they would like for us to apply for. We just have not gone that extra step because this particular task order was about identifying what the grants were. If we then want to apply for those, our entire grants writing team would then support the city with actually going after those grants.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else from the board? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Member Nelson?
I'd move to accept the downtown bicycle and pedestrian amenities strategic plan.
Second.
I have a motion by Member Nelson. I have a second by Member Moscoso. City Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Member Moscoso?
Yes.
Member Nelson? Yes. Chairman Connors?
Yes.
Member Mutter? Yes. Member Stokel?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. Appreciate you, Ms. Sue, for being here. Now I believe we're on to petitions and requests from the public. Mr. Johnson?
My name is Stan Johnson. I'm a professional engineer, and the city of Titusville has had a budget which they proclaimed on overheads that about 50% of our budget is what? It's safety. 50% of our budget is safety. So that's what I'm here to talk to you about, because my job as a professional engineer is to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public. I said safety. So what the city of Titusville has been doing is they have been disobeying rules of safety, big time, not a little bit, big time, serious time. And you've seen this poster before. It says sewage spray by the city of Titusville beginning December 2020. And this, it says also an affidavit, ORB 8989, page 301, and it mentions people's names like Mrs. Nelson, Stokel, and so forth. Doesn't mention you because one of the things is you're not against this. In other words, stopping sewage spray and spraying people with sewage. Maybe you would be, but you've never said it, except Megan Moscoso. So all 4 of you, especially Mr. Connors, because he's on North Brevard Parks and Recreation, and he continues to advertise. And when I say advertise, he's promoting. It's okay to leave the fountains on and spray the public with sewage. My contention as a professional engineer is people learn that sewage is not good for them, even as if they were in kindergarten or just young kids. Piss and poop is not healthy. You don't spray it in people's faces, and you don't play around with it. But the city of Titusville is the only city in this universe, as far as I know, that deliberately sprays people with piss and poop. Only one. It's a shame. I'm so ashamed with this, and I'm even asking Mr. Connors tonight to since he is so much promoting this, that I'm asking him to resign his position as mayor. We have no business having a mayor or someone like that, or any council members, spraying people with sewage, and especially Mrs. Nelson, who promotes this by her saying that somebody in DEP said it's okay to do it. But here's what I've got. I got $80 here, $80. And there's over 40,000 professional engineers in the state of Florida, 40,000. So I'll give anybody in this room $80 cash, if they can get a professional engineer, come up to the stage and say, Stan Johnson is wrong, council is right. $80. Anybody, okay, $100. Give anybody $100 to get some, okay, $500. I'll give you $500 if you can get any professional engineer who's sane. All right,
Thank you, Mr.
any
Johnson.
questions?
City Clerk.
I think Mr. Kirk Davis submitted a card for petitions and requests. Did you want to speak?
Thank you, City Clerk. Executive Director.
So the last item on the agenda is the Executive Director's Report. And as usual, that's just informational items of staff's tasking over the past month.
Any questions for the Executive Director? Seeing none, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
We're adjourned. See you at 6:30.